Yo, so what's quack-a-lacking, guys? My name is Pone, and I am your host for this adventure. I want to talk about the Taken King. Hope you're into that kind of thing. So, let's talk a little bit about this game. At first, we need to separate this game into two categories. The bad and the worst. Just kidding, I'm trolling. Between PvE and PvP. You might as well be inserting two different discs because they're night and day. They're two entirely different experiences embedded into one compact package that is Destiny. So let's take priority on the PvE before we dive into the PvP. Now, player versus environment. The basic AI experience where you fight a bunch of mobs, bosses, raids, and so forth. Now, anybody who's anybody, whether or not you've played the game or not, you've heard a fair share about how embarrassing the game was for the storyline and the experiences. The strikes and everything were repetitive and bland. And this was ridiculed by the media, the community. It was made fun of. Not gonna lie, the storyline was more absent than my father during my childhood. It was bad. It was made fun of and just obliterated by everyone. They really wanted to make sure that didn't happen this time around, because they fucking out of the park. It was beautiful. It was so well designed, and there's so many things to do. And most impressively is there are hours upon hours you can invest into this game. Probably well over 100 hours into getting through all of the PvE elements and until you had your fill, and that's just on one of your playable characters. You can do that across multiples. So whereas you would be completely burnt out of PvE within the first week or two before, you now can have a lot of fun over the course of a couple months if you space it out and play at a healthier rate. Not like I do. So, there's a lot going for it. Now let's talk about the storyline. The storyline was incredible. I'm the first guy to go ahead, oh, cutscene, button mash, skip it, don't care, let me shoot the things. I wanted to see where the dialogue took us. I wanted to see the relationships form, and it pulled me in. Not gonna lie, I love the humor behind the characters. Cade, the ghost even kind of seemed like he was developing a personality and was rational, but still kind of like, what's going on, and curious. I liked the tension between the characters at the table when they're talking and discussing how they're gonna defeat this terror that is Oryx. I really loved the storyline this time around, and the missions were pretty interesting too. Again, not the most explosive or shiny or flashy, but they required a little bit more into the lore, and I like that they dove into that. Now, as for the basic, the grindy things, they've added in arms day weapons that allow you to try to earn and build up reputation. The quest line that they have added in, not like the traditional quest line with the storyline, but the actual quest line. They've added quests to their game where you can go to various different kind of vendors and you can discuss with them, you know, different tasks that they have you set out to do. You can embark on these missions and adventures, and they can reward you with exotics or materials to go in towards other things, and they really tore that out. There are hundreds of hours you could probably pump into just quest lines and stuff like that alone. Then, let's talk a little bit about the strikes. The strikes are now kind of random. So instead of just a straight boring experience, you now have various different options. Throughout an entire strike, there are kind of sections, if you will. The first section may be Fallen. The second section may be Taken, and so on and so forth. And even if you get back-to-back strikes of the same map, they could be different. So the next time it may be Taken, and then the next one may be Fallen, and it'll go in that order. So every time you play a strike, it's going to be a little bit different. And you're never just going to have overlapping experiences back-to-back-to-back. So it does change, and to be honest, it's kind of refreshing. Now, moving aside to the big one, the raid. Now, this is just where they really nailed it. I had so much fun defeating Oryx. Every other raid up until now is just obsolete. It has nothing on this raid, and for a few major reasons. One, the raids before were a joke. A couple weeks into the experience, people were soloing the raid. It's a 6-man team experience, and people are soloing it, and it got to where they were soloing it on hard. No! Why? The hardest thing in the game you can do, and people can do it like, yo, I got this. And you just shouldn't have that. Now it's so centered around the kind of chemistry and synergy, the communication that you need with your teammates. It went from being, oh, Tim died, we'll just pick him up after this, to, oh shit, Tim died, let's wipe. It's so important that you guys have proper communication and you make as few mistakes as possible now because you feel them now. You know when you fucked up, and the whole team suffers because of a mistake. And it stands out now. It's more distinct, and it gives you this feel that you need to make sure everything works out just right, and the communication is on point, so that you can be successful and get the loot that you're looking for. Even more important is now it's not all about the final boss. Many of the bosses throughout the duration of this King's Fall raid are extremely challenging. Of course, not gonna lie, Golgoroth was a rough part for many people. It's the first place I got stuck, and even now that I've done it a few times, it's still challenging for many people that haven't gotten a hold of it yet. The Daughters are a little rough, the War Priest is challenging for some people, but it's actually kind of easy in my opinion. And Oryx himself can be challenging. It's not forgiving if you mess up during some of those experiences. So, I think it's great that now you have to do things with friends, you have to communicate, you have to work together, and that every part of that raid is now equally challenging, and it's not just, okay, run through everything, then the boss is done in 5 minutes. I think they did a great job in that. So, for the PvE time, put a pat on the back. You guys did great. You escalated it from what was probably a 3 in the first year up to a score of about a 9. You just beasted it, and you just completely showed up, and it was incredible. Now, let's take a look at the PvP. My mama used to tell me that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Fortunate for us, Mama doesn't watch my videos, so let's go. One of the biggest problems are the connection issues with this game. People lag, teleport, have lag armor, they're practically invincible, and it's so frustrating when you tear into a guy and he beats you simply because of a shitty red bar. A big problem on their game, and one that people should consider before playing this in PvP. Destiny PvP was pretty much created for the casual player. There are a lot of handicaps and what I like to call crutches in their game designed to, I guess, enhance the experience for the less skilled players out there. And a lot of people are blind to this because many of the people actually fit into this category. Those that only play a little bit here and there are not going to really get bothered by a lot of the things that, you know, a more competitive player will be, like weapon balance and other situations. So, for those people, most people in general are okay with this game. Me belonging to the smaller crowd, I disagree with a lot of the things that they have in their game. One major one being the way that they work with specials. Now, they did a great job getting closer to primary weapon balance. Pulse rifles are still way too strong, seeing as how the rest of them kind of generally have their time to kill slowed down a bit. They have basically showed an example of what fixing one thing can actually enhance the problem of another. Special weapons, shotguns and fusion rifles, are a plague on the game. They are way too overpowered to be existing. With the time to kill being slower, it means people can get closer to you now. They can close that distance gap, which means shotguns can get closer to you now than they could before, which means death. Same with fusion rifles that are able to kill in 3 to 5 times the range that a Fellwinter ever could. This is a major problem and has led to a lot of motions inside the Crucible where people pretty much use shotguns as primaries because that's the best option to give yourself kills. The close quarter maps just are designed to kind of implement this sort of play. So people cater to those kind of crutches. Kind of puts it in the, well, if you want to have a level playing field, you got to use it. The fire with fire sort of situation. So I understand that to an extent. This is, again, the pressure needs to be put on Bungie to fix this. Now, a couple other things that I've noticed that are kind of disappointing, and I'm not trying to turn this into a giant rant, but just simply expose some of these things, are fusion grenades. These are grenades that can, in fact, lock onto you, and I feel like they're growing in popularity. With the nerf to a couple of the other grenades, these are becoming even more popular than they were before. And like I said, nothing is more disappointing than earning a kill, getting the drop on a guy, putting all the damage, being positive you're going to kill him, and last minute he pushes a bumper and takes you to the grave with him. Not because he was skilled, but because he had a sticky grenade that pretty much locks onto you. It's an extremely disappointing aspect of the game, and I can't stand it, to be honest. Now, they did a good job at some of the new map designs. It's very hard for them, and I feel for them, because they have so many different types of games, whether or not it's traditional Clash, Control, Rift, all these different game modes. It's very hard to balance these maps so that they work well with all of these different play styles. So, they did a great job for the most part on some of those maps. A couple of them need some love, and some of those, like Rift, Memento, is really bad, to be honest. But some other situations, like in Control, it's a great map. Now, pushing on past this, another thing, and this is going to be one of those things that people may be blind to. They're like, what? I've never even thought of that. And this is my issue, is that the supers are just getting out of control. They're far more dangerous now with the new subclasses than they ever were. I really do not like the fact that I have no control in the fate of my character. If I got a guy with a flaming hammer in front of me, I might as well sit the fuck down. There's no way to counter that. No amount of shotgun, no amount of love, prayer, Jesus is going to save me in that moment. He just throws hammers, regenerates health, and continues about his day. I truly believe that they need to take away the tankiness from these subclasses. It'll force people to be smart. They're going to have a little bit more finesse with their decision making, and they're going to need to do that. You can't just have the freedom of jumping into a room, pushing 2 bumpers, and getting 4 kills. You're going to need to be smart now. I feel like everybody should have a chance with basic weapons
to take down somebody in a super. We see it with the gunslinger. It still gets a lot of kills, it's still super strong, but you really can't run into a room full of 3 people or you're going to get dropped because you're doing it. Again, there should be consequences and a bit of fear in between using that. You don't want to use it and lose it. So that's another thing that I feel like they should do on. Overall, PvP is playable to an extent. If you get in the right lobbies, you roll with a lot of friends, you can definitely steamroll people and have a lot of fun. But playing solo, dealing with a bunch of shotgunners and a few other aspects that are semi-unbalanced, it does prove to be a little frustrating at times. So I would give the Crucible rating around a 4, maybe a 5. But that's definitely the area that they need to improve on, seeing as how that's the area where actual players are impacted by the decisions of other players. The Scions can't run off to Bungie and complain that, oh hey, he Gjallarhorned me to the face, because, well, they're not real people. You can't hurt their feelings or ruin their day, but this is just where I feel, again, I'm coming from like a competitive background where I notice these flaws and they get irritating quickly, but for the casual player, which is pretty much most people, this could still be an extremely fun PvP experience, so take that all into consideration before buying this game. I would recommend it to my friends. The PvE has got tons of hours wrapped into it. They did a great job in that area, with PvP hopefully being fixed in the future, but you never know. History has proven that they've only done a major patch for PvP once every 6 months. So, looking forward to see what the community can do and pressure them into fixing some of the shotgun balance. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe for future Taken King gameplay, and have a great, blessed evening.